Welcome to the Home Coach Podcast, a weekly deep dive into all things real estate. Now, here's your host, Steve Henyon.
Welcome back to Home Coach. Please follow us on Facebook, Home Coach Realty, Home Coach School, Coach Henyon, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. We are there everywhere. So look for us there. Okay. So we're starting off the fourth quarter this week. We're now, what do we do in the fourth quarter? We look at the time over the year, the previous 9 months. What did we do right? We want to continue those on. What did we do wrong? We want to improve on that as we start the fourth quarter planning for the upcoming year of 2022. And today what we're going to do is go over those, and I have a little solemn news. I think the presentation's not going to be as chipper as we normally have it, but we just need to keep focused and stay in reality. What do I mean by that is I've had the pleasure of being in business for quite a bit of time and been through different recessions, and including the Great Recession. And the only reason I think our firm survived during that time, it was a terrible time that lasted so long, was by the grace of God, was able to see the horizon further out. I was able to adjust and make modifications and prepare my business for what was the inevitable, not knowing exactly how long it was going to take, but knowing something was coming. And so that brings us to our time today, beginning of fourth quarter in 2021. And I want to go over some numbers with you. These aren't your particular numbers, but these are numbers that are going to influence your numbers in one way or the other, and how you react to them or how you don't react to them. So and we've talked about some of these over the last few weeks, but let's just talk about them and reflect. Inflation. So we know that inflation is going up. We have all kinds of data that's going to show that at the minimum, interest rates for housing are going to go up. We've talked about the fact that the Feds had once said they weren't going to raise interest rates until 2023, but then a few weeks ago they shifted that and said, no, you can look at, in order to help curb this inflation, you can at least look at interest rates going up a point or so. Well, overall, going up a point, that's in itself not bad. And none of these things that we're going to talk about are in itself a negative driver, a holdback, a push down on the housing market. But it's if you get them in their totality. So next, we got gas prices. Gas prices are at a 7-year high. They're expecting it to be at $100 a barrel soon. 7-year high already. Well, that's going to start costing you dollars, right? You're not going to be showing houses or it's going to be costing you to show houses more. 7-year high already will go up to $100 barrel. We're looking at $4 gas across the country on an average, something like that. But we're also looking at natural gas. Natural gas are at a 13-year high, up 25% this year, 13-year high. So we've got just driving gas, 7-year high. We've got natural gas at a 13-year high. Now, okay, that'll cost on your business and maybe your home. So you're making your income. It's already a struggle, especially if you're a buyer's agent, because you're working 6, 7, 8 times harder than you've ever done before, because you're writing up 6, 7, 8 offers in order to get one placed in there. Well, this is also going to have an impact on our consumers, right? So if it's costing more for them to do the same thing and not getting an increase in income, then they have less disposable income and less money to spend on a house. Fair? Same thing goes for interest rates. Interest rates go up. It's just their purchasing power that goes down. We then have construction costs. Construction costs over the last 12 months have gone up 26.1% in the last 12 months. Same house now, builder is absorbing or passing on 26.1%. Now we already know they're not absorbing that cost increase. They're passing it on. In fact, contracts that were written 9-10 months ago that are going to be closing out, we already have experience in our company that builders are more than happy to release buyers from those obligations, giving them full money back so that they can resell it at a higher price. Then we have to add in the labor shortage. Now, this is an interesting predicament here. We have something like, even though the labor percentage is down, we have 10 million jobs with 9 million people unemployed. Now, why do we have a labor shortage? And I think this is a big question that I've been trying to wrap my head around. The unemployment benefits are not there. The increased, the added federal unemployment benefits aren't there. People are still needing to work. I know that they're back at home. So, I mean, I've read all kinds of different theories on why we have a labor shortage right now. But I think one interesting reality that's happening now is that we have the baby boomers retiring. That's one factor that's taking things out of the equation. So baby boomers who, I'm at the tail end, the very last year of the baby boomers, but the older people who are afraid of COVID and all are more than willing, either they've sold their home in this bang up market and retired somewhere, or they've elected to stay kind of settle down in the place that they're going to be, not selling and just deciding, well, we're just going to live on our income here, or whether it's their fixed income or as they're fading out of their particular jobs. But they're not. You have more retirees not working. Well, I'm not retirees. We have more baby boomers not working. And then here's a phenomenal stat. We have less babies. We have 5.8 million in America, 5.8 million less babies being born in a decade. Now, of course, that's not impacting our job shortage rate today. But on average, we have 4 million babies a year. So if we have 5.8 million babies less in the last decade, that's almost like a year and a half of not having anyone have a baby in America. Well, that's going to have tremendous impact on our labor shortage in just a few years. Of that labor shortage, we have two kind of polar ethnic. We have the Hispanics of that labor shortage. Hispanics make up 50% of that shortage. Whites make up about 35% of that shortage. And roughly about 10% are in the Black community. So where are all, when you're looking at our middle income, lower to middle income jobs and the ability of our, for lack of a better term, white collar jobs, you have retirees gone. We have high schoolers or soon to be high schoolers and all that age bracket that aren't available on there. And we don't have the supply of babies coming on board to fill a gap in the future. All right, just think of that for just a sec. We have tax increases on the horizon. Federal government's about to do anywhere from $2 to $5 trillion, and they don't know how they're going to pay for that. Well, it's going to be coming. It's got to be paid for off of us, right? We're the ones who supply all that. Well, so we know tax increases are going to happen. So we have to plan for that. I have no idea how much it's going to be and where it's going to come from, whether it's going to be on you passing your business onto your family, whether it's income taxes, corporate taxes. It's got to come from somewhere, from us. That also includes this thing that they've been talking about with the IRS, getting notifications of transactions of $600 or more. $600 or more transactions that the banks are going to supply to the IRS. Did you know in the United States, there are over 14 million people who do not have a bank? 14 million people, those are adults, who don't have a bank at all for their money. Do you think that's going to increase if people are going to have to keep track with the IRS, or are going to be held accountable by the IRS of every $600 transaction. Think about that, folks. Think about the paying someone who comes over to do some work on your house, the painter on there, who's going to now ask, instead of writing a check to them, they're going to want to have cash paid to them, right? Because they might not want to have that income notified to the IRS. They might not want to let that happen. Heck, we have brokers who are getting paid differently now, in order or have in the past had their incomes not 1099. They've had companies formed on this. Anyway, I don't want to go off topic on that, but we have $600 is going to be notified. If we have 14 million, I think that is easily going to double to triple. So now we have income that's not going to be reported or taken into or identified in the banks, which means then those individuals aren't going to be able to qualify for a loan. Now, could they qualify for some other special kind of financing? Well, 80% of all loans are government-backed loans. So if the government is requiring the IRS to ensure that $600 transactions are reported, but people aren't going, and then they own 80% of the loans out there, we're going to have an economy, an underground economy that aren't going to get loans. So how are they going to buy houses if they buy houses at all? These are just questions I'm contemplating on there. Then I think we have to look at world events that are out there too, potential conflicts. Right now, China, the talk as of today, China's potential invasion of Taiwan, that in itself will set off alarms across the world. Democratic Chinese taken over by China forcefully, different than it was even when Hong Kong, which they took over on that. And what is our response to that? Because Taiwan is an ally of the United States. Well, whatever it is, there's going to be some negative impact when it comes to our economy. What about the supply chain difficulties we're now seeing? Off the coast of California, 60 ships sitting out there. I think the average now is 13 days offshore. That's just the ships. And that's the least amount of the worries, because I was listening to the head of the Port Authority at LA's port, the largest in the United States. And they said, he said that the problem they're having is not only getting the containers off, but then getting them shipped out of there. So we don't have the truck drivers that are available to go ahead and get the cargo, which is why the ships are sitting off the coast. Well, that's going to mean that this winter, we're going to have less food, less Christmas presents, less everything. How are people going to react? One of the indicators that I pay attention to a lot is the consumer price index. I'm sorry, the consumer confidence index. Consumer confidence index. If people are happy, they want to buy houses. If people have toilet paper shortages like we did a year ago, but it's not just toilet paper, it's meat, it's cellophane, it's diapers. If we can't find those on the shelves and it starts to look like images of Venezuela, and what I mean by that is not that we become Venezuela, but people start to think that we're becoming like Venezuela, then people will react accordingly. I mean, just think about how people hoarded toilet paper and how long it took for that to come around. And we didn't have a supply chain problem then. That was just an inventory problem. Well, then we have to add in, of course, COVID. Now, COVID has been reducing over the summer, but they're already talking about the fact that this is going to increase as, of course, it does every season. It's going to be in the wintertime. It's going to hit the Northeast first, the Northeast, as well as the upper Midwest. You can already see, I pulled up today COVID numbers across the United States, And you can already kind of see an overlay of those two areas, seeing a tick up in COVID-related cases. This is already when we have 70% of the people vaccinated out there. And they're talking about this strain being worse than it was last year, or what we've just experienced over 2021. Okay, so what happens then? Do government agencies start bringing us back into shutdown mode, which would be devastating for everything, for the economy, at least for our business on it? Do people, if we don't have food, the type of food that we want, right? If we don't have the plenty of items that we want to go, that we're used to going to grocery stores. You already know this. You go to the grocery store now, you don't see things on the shelves. You go to Target and Walmart, you see things that aren't on the shelves. You go to the liquor stores, there's nothing on the, they're barren on the shelves. Okay, so if the consumer confidence starts to go down, then people stop buying. If inflation is going up and people have less buying power, they have less money in their pocket. Okay, Steve, it seems like doomsday that's coming up. No, I mean, we do have cycles of this that are going through. And my outlook right now is that we're not headed towards an upswing in real estate. I think we need to prepare ourselves for challenges ahead. What things should you be thinking about? Well, the first thing I would be thinking about is trying to get out of debt as much as possible, trying to shore up your lines of income streams and start saving money so that you can weather the downturns, whether short and minimal or extended and long. Whether they are the short ones like in 2001 or the long ones in 2008, 9, and 10, you have to be able to weather that. Now, how much do you do? I don't know. I think we're still trying to see how this all moves down the path, ending in 2021 as we round the corner into 2022. But I caution everyone, the days that you see today with crazy pricing of real estate can't last with all these different factors continuing to move forward. If we continue to have increases in prices in all these, if we continue to have high gas prices, high natural gas prices, high construction costs, a labor shortage, we add in tax increases, we add in supply chain difficulties that will take a long time to correct, by the way. It's not an overnight thing. It's certainly not going to be something that's going to be done in 3 months. It can't. I mean, because we're actually entering into what is usually the high purchase season, Christmas. People are going to want their stuff. They're going to want to put stuff under the tree. Well, if you can't get the stuff under the tree, how do you think people are going to feel? Is it going to make them feel happy, like I want to go out and buy a house? I'm on the side that says no. So what I've got to do, what we're planning to do, is what we did 2006 and 7, is we're going to have to start packing some dollars away. We're going to actually probably increase our marketing budget, making sure that we're keeping at least a minimum supply of income coming in to pay the bills that are needed to keep the business running and afloat. How long this is going to last, I don't know. And I'm not the doomsdayer. I'm your optimist. So take that for what it's worth. And we'll talk to you next week.